Our breaking news this hour, President Cyril Ramaphosa preparing for that address. He'll be addressing you at 8:30 tonight. Now, here's what we know. There was a meeting this morning, a virtual meeting of the Coronavirus Command Council. We understand there might have been meetings with Cabinet as well over the last 24, 48 hours. So what could possibly happen? What is the position of the President? And how big and difficult a governance decision is all of this when you consider the pandemic that we face? Our politics editor, Sbu Ngalwa, joins us now. Sbu, good afternoon. Just the fact that there's going to be an announcement, that's important, right? Of
course it is, Stephen. Look, we last heard from the President on the 23rd of April. So obviously all we've been hearing are the ministers. There is a lot of anxiety, and he did tell us that he would address us around the mid-May. So which is now the time. And also, as you would understand, there's been a lot of pressure on the President to ease the lockdown. I mean, you've got his alliance partners in COSATU. As part of the clamor, you've got big business. So obviously, it makes sense that round about now he must tell us as to how we're moving forward as a country, Stephen.
What are the options? And I mean, I suppose that's really another way of asking you, is he going to go to level 3 or level 2? So many people will be asking about that. Can they go back to work? Can they go to a bottle store, whatever it is? At the same time, you do not want to be the President to relax too early.
No, I think that's the most difficult thing for him, because the reality is the pressure is on, and I think that he will ease, because it looks like, I mean, the economy may not be able to recover from all of this. So it makes sense that the sooner he opens it, the better. But the question is South Africa ready to control the rates of infection? Because, I mean, we've heard the argument that the whole point of a lockdown is to actually to minimize the spread of the virus and also to prepare the public health system. But the question is whether we'll be able to contain those and be able to control the spread of the virus. Because, as you would know, Stephen, it's been said that even from the government's own modelling, to say that to get to level 3, you need to be informed by the reduced rate of infection. I'm not seeing that. We're looking at, if you look at the figures coming out of the two particular provinces of the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape, every day you've got hundreds of new cases being reported. So I think it's a really a difficult one, a balancing act, whether he will say, do we drop to level 3 and then have a differentiated approach in provinces where that are considered hotspots. We will hear, but I think that those who drink alcohol will be happy with level 3.
I have no idea who those people might be. I do want... So, I mean, this is incredibly complicated, incredibly difficult, and everything about this is around governance decisions, right? But I'm also reminded about what the President said in his letter to the nation, his weekly letter published on a Monday this week, in which he spoke about individual and personal responsibility. The reason I say this is after 47 days of lockdown, which is where we are now, you and I don't go anywhere without hand sanitizer. If we weren't literally on TV now, we would have face masks on. In the office, we do most of the time. The nation has actually had a course in how to look after itself. Elderly people in my family have hardly left their home in the last month, you know, correctly so in my view. The point I'm trying to make is it possible to say maybe now is the right time, just because I think almost everyone in the country must know to an extent how to protect themselves from the virus?
I think that's the case too, because the government can only do so much, and then it boils down to individual behavior. But everywhere we go, now that we've made it mandatory for every member of the public to wear their mask, I think people understand that in terms of personal hygiene everywhere you go, in terms of shops, taxi ranks. It's just a matter of ramping that up. But I think the biggest problem, as I say, is whether you are able, I mean, all the provinces, everywhere you go, they talk of day hospitals that they've put up and the number of rooms that are ready for new infections. But the question, the reality is, will those be enough? And will the people who are supposed to, who test positive, are they going to subject themselves to that? So for me, it's not so much what government can do. I think it moves to you and I, your family, your extended family, and continuing to tell that message. Because as COSATU says, you can only pay social grants up to a certain point. You know, the reality is that the economy has to get back to the drill of to generating income, and also for government as well. You know, so it's a very difficult one for the President.
It's going to be fascinating to see what the history textbooks say when they're published online in a couple of years. Sbu Ngalwa, thanks very much indeed. I'm sure we'll call on you again in the next few